All right, let's talk about a huge, costly mistake that can totally doom projects before they even get off the ground. It's this one crucial step that so many organizations just skip, and it leads to so much wasted time and money. So today, we're going to get into the secret of making sure a project is actually built for success right from day one.
You've seen this happen, right? A big, expensive new program gets launched, everyone's got high hopes, but then when it's time to actually see the results, crickets. It just doesn't deliver. So you have to wonder, why do so many of these well-intentioned projects seem to fail their final exam? Well, a lot of the time, the problem is this. Companies and organizations spend millions, literally millions, evaluating their programs to see if they're working. But they totally jump the gun. They're trying to test a program that was never, ever ready for that test in the first place. Now, this mistake of testing way too early is so common that it actually has a name. It's a huge pitfall, but you know what? The good news is it's completely avoidable. Think about it like this, okay? You would never, ever try to fly a plane that hasn't passed its pre-flight check. It's just common sense. You got to know the engine works, the wings are solid, the controls are responding before you even think about taking off. Well, evaluating a flawed program is the exact same thing. You're trying to fly a plane that might not even be built right. So how do we do that pre-flight check for a program? Well, it turns out there's a formal process for it. It's a readiness check designed to answer one simple question. Is this project actually ready to be measured? And here it is. It's called an evaluability assessment, or just EA for short. This idea has been around for a while, actually, developed by a guy named Joseph Hooley way back in 1979. It's just a systematic way to figure out if an evaluation is even justified or possible. In other words, it answers a really simple question. Will testing this thing right now actually give us any useful information? And you know, the research that helps us break all this down so clearly was put together by Raymond Mukuni. He's a GIS and monitoring and evaluation specialist from Zimbabwe, and his work really provides the foundation for what we're talking about today. Now, what's so interesting about this is just how fundamental it is. I mean, this quote really nails it. An EA is all about checking the foundation. Does the program even have the basic building blocks in place for any kind of meaningful measurement to happen? So what is this readiness check actually looking for? Well, you can think of an evaluability assessment as basically a hunt for specific red flags that tell you, whoa, this program is not ready. And these problems, they pretty much fall into two main buckets. On one side, you have program design flaws. These are problems with the actual core blueprint of the program. And on the other side, you've got program implementation issues. These are problems with how that blueprint is actually being carried out in the real world. So let's talk about design flaws first. An EA might find that there's no formal plan at all. Or maybe the goals are just completely out there, totally unrealistic. You know, like a tiny mentoring program aiming to single-handedly slash citywide dropout rates in half. Sometimes the things they're doing have nothing to do with their stated goals. If any of this is true, the whole logic is broken, and an evaluation would be a total waste of time. Then you've got the implementation issues. A program might look great on paper, but in practice, it's a mess. Maybe it's serving a totally different group of people than it was designed for, or just doesn't have the staff or equipment it needs to run. And a huge one is when there's no way to even collect the data you'd need for an evaluation. A perfect plan is pretty useless if nobody's following it. So how does an assessor actually find all these red flags? Well, it's not just a quick look around, it's a real investigation with a clear playbook. The whole process really boils down to 5 crucial tasks. First, the assessor does their homework, studying the program's design. But then, and this is so important, they go and see it in the real world. They check the data systems, they stress test the goals to see if they're realistic, and only then do they make the final call on whether an evaluation is even going to be useful. And this quote just brilliantly spells out the most important part of that playbook. The assessor absolutely has to see the program with their own 2 eyes. Reading a plan is one thing, but seeing how it actually works, or doesn't work, in the real world, that's where you find out if the paper plan matches reality. Direct observation is a must. So, after all that digging, all that investigation, the process delivers a really simple final verdict. There are only 2 ways it can go. And here they are. Either the program gets a green light, it's considered evaluable and it's ready for a full-scale evaluation, or it gets a red light, meaning fundamental problems were found in its design or execution and it's just not ready, plain and simple. But here is the most important takeaway of all. Getting a not ready verdict is not a failure. Not at all. It's actually the opposite. It is an incredibly valuable roadmap that tells program managers exactly what they need to fix to get things back on track. It saves them from a super costly and, frankly, useless evaluation down the line.
So, it all comes down to this, really. Before we all rush to measure success, we have to stop and ask a much more fundamental question. Is this program, is this project, even built to succeed in the first place? Answering that question first, well, that changes everything.